I want it, now I'm running this. You don't wanna follow me, I'm up in front of this. Hiring in the jungle with the troops, trying to get it what it does. Battling and I never lose, we some motherfucking warriors.
The smoke grenade. Available at the cost of only $300, it's one of the most powerful pieces of utility in this game, and my biggest issue is that no one uses it. People underestimate the ability of smoke grenades in defuse matches, probably because the entire community fails to use them properly, especially in bigger situations like tournaments. Unlike most of the smoke tutorial videos, this video is not going to cover specific smoke grenade spots, but rather how to use them in certain situations. Welcome to episode 1 of Critical Ops Academy with your host Manthus. This is my first time ever trying an episode like this, so I would greatly appreciate your feedback in the comments. With that all said, let's get right into this episode. So today, I want to show you guys different applications for smoke grenades. Although learning specific smoke spots is nice, 9 times out of 10 you aren't going to use them in a scrim or rank. They require too much time to line them up, and oftentimes you will fall behind from the rest of your team if you waste your time doing smokes like these. That's why I don't recommend trying to learn a lot of these specific spots. One of the only smokes that I still use in scrims and tournaments is this B-long smoke on grounded, because it's pretty easy to line up and it's extremely helpful for dominating B-mid. The first concept you need to understand in order to master a smoke is by realizing that the positioning is everything with a smoke. Throwing a smoke grenade basically somewhat creates a small sphere around the canister. The closer the smoke is to your opponent, the more their vision will get blocked off. That's why most times, whenever you know your opponent is holding a specific angle or head glitch, you want to try and throw the smoke as close to them as possible. They will be unable to see through the smoke, and it will likely cause them to move out of the way so they can get a clearer line of view. It's also important to note that when you are shooting through or inside a smoke, you will have no aim assist, meaning that your opponents will be much weaker if they are right next to a smoke. Smoking off common angles on sites can be really powerful when making aggressive pushes because they will take your opponent's attention away from that area as they choose to reposition or stay hidden. The next application for smokes is probably the only way that everyone uses them right now, and that's for blocking off the line of sight of your opponents so that you can cross somewhere. Some really obvious ones that come to mind are smoking off intel or mid on bureau or sniper's nest on canals. Once the smoke has popped, your opponent will be unable to directly see you as you are making a move. One very important concept that people need to know is spraying through smokes. If it is apparent that a full team push is about to occur when something is smoked off, spraying through the smoke can at least weaken your opponents, making it easier for your team to hold off or retake the site. You need to keep in mind that it's dangerous to sit still and spray through a smoke, because oftentimes your bullets will be easily traced through the smoke, making you an easy target for the other team. Your best option is to stay mobile and fire some quick shots if you want to try and do some damage through a smoke. A huge concept that follows up on this is smoking off angles for snipers. The objective of the smokes is to cover up their line of sight so that you can move from point A to point B swiftly without being spotted. Oftentimes, snipers are holding an angle from much farther away, meaning that the smoke does not need to be closer to them, but rather somewhere in between. You can get creative yourself with trying to make your smoke land somewhere in between you and the sniper. The next thing that I wanted to discuss is pushing through smokes. We all know that the CSGO player Stewie2K was famous for rushing through smokes when they were completely unexpected. He was one of the first people that made all esports communities realize that smokes are just smoke screens rather than temporary walls. Pushing through smokes in this game can be very dangerous because you will have no aim assist at first, and it will be very hard to physically see where your opponents are positioned at. Oftentimes, your opponents will get a clear look at you pushing through the smoke well before you are ready to engage in a gunfight. The best way to push through a smoke is to do it when it's least unexpected. One push that I like to use a lot is on bureau. After my team smokes off intel to let us cross, I like to throw a flash through that opening in lab 1 and push through the smoke once the flash pops. If they are distracted from the flash or get flashed by it, it gives you a brief window to push through that smoke and find some picks. The last thing I wanted to cover was using a smoke to delay pushes. I just mentioned that pushing through a smoke is very dangerous and risky. That's why one of the most effective ways to defend against a push is by smoking off their entrance. Most of the time the other team will not push through a smoked doorway because there's too many angles to check and you won't be able to get back up from your teammates. Smoking off these tight angles can really delay pushes and slow down the momentum of the other team. It also gives your team time to figure out exactly where everyone is and try and push up to get a better position. That's really all I have to say about smoke grenades. My last piece of advice is to get creative with them. There's so many good applications for smoke grenades, like entry fragging, clutching, isolating your opponents, but there's too many specific situations to talk about in a single video. If you enjoy these better edited videos, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and please give me some feedback in the comments about what you thought on the first episode of Critical Ops Academy. Thanks for your support, and I'll see y'all in the next video.